Hey guys, I'm Sage Valentine and I'm back here to review another episode of AMC's The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 2, entitled The Bridge. Okay, so I'm going to hit a couple key points and then I'm going to get right into this review. Number one, someone wrote a comment last week that asked me to stop revealing things from the comic book because they plan on reading the comic book later on. My advice to that person is to stay off of social media because people are going to reveal a lot of stuff, things that have nothing to do with this season. As it pertains to me, I only talk about what is happening per episode. If you feel that strongly and you feel the need to unfollow me, then I completely understand. But in order for people to understand what's going on in this episode, because I've seen all over Twitter and Facebook, people are confused about what's happening. So my videos are a way to help explain things as best I can. So if you feel the need to unfollow, I respect you completely. Number two. A month has passed between episode 1 and episode 2. Again, the timeline for the series is a bit murky because there was one timeline that stretched across like 2 or 3 seasons and people were like, well, how's Maggie pregnant and how come she's not showing? And it was literally happening within like 2 weeks or something to that effect. Okay. And number 3, when I was watching Talking Dead last night, the one moment I decided to check Twitter to see what was up, I completely missed the part where Chris Hardwick read one of my tweets. And if you don't believe me, watch Sunday's episode of Talking Dead. And if you hear Sage Valentine, that is me. And I was talking about Justin. And I do believe that Justin knew that person who attacked him. And I do believe that that person was more than likely male. And I'll tell you why later on. But let's get down to this review. Pretty much this episode opens up with Rick talking to someone who is obviously Negan. I mean, I picked it up from the beginning. Not just because I read the comic books, but also because who else would he be sitting down and talking to other than Negan? And he tells Negan he has to get him up to speed, and it's day 25, and everybody's working together. The one thing I liked about the opening of the episode was as Rick was walking, he was seeing everybody getting up in the morning and getting dressed. And I thought it was so cute to see Jerry and Nabila together. You guys probably forgot who Nabila was. Nabila's from the Kingdom. She wore the shroud on her head. I forgot what it's called, but there is a specific term for it. And she had on coveralls and boots. And the fact that she and Jerry are together blew my mind, but I thought it was really cute. Rick basically says to Negan, we're getting back a piece of who we used to be. We're not just fighting to survive. We are making a new beginning. Rick seems so optimistic and everything seems so peaceful for now. Henry has a father figure in Ezekiel and a mother figure in Carol, and I thought that their scene of, like, you know, getting him ready to do his job was so cute, and Ezekiel explaining to him the importance of the bridge was really cute, and it's good to see Carol smiling and happy for now. Carol tells Ezekiel that she's going to head out to the sanctuary because the sanctuary does not have its stuff together at this point, and they don't, especially after everything that happened with Negan. Yes, it's like a year and a month later, but still they don't have their stuff together. Ezekiel is heading back to the kingdom because he has to get the kingdom together because they're dealing with a lot since they lost most of those knights, or all the knights pretty much, save for, I think, Diane, and there might be one more. But that's it, besides Jerry, I mean. Eugene is telling Rick about a problem involving the levee, a problem that will more than likely come into play later on in the storyline. Eugene said that 6 saviors have disappeared in the past 6 months. And I'm saying to myself, they sure have. And those who have read the comic books, you're aware of what has happened. For those who have not, you'll find out. You will definitely find out. Something is obviously up. They didn't just disappear out of thin air. And it makes me wonder, does this have anything to do with the rumors about a group called the Whispers coming soon? Or is there like a serial killer or something on within the camp or something like that? Like, what is going on? I honestly think it's the former, not the latter. But I could be wrong, because sometimes when the comic book storylines seem like they're going to go a certain way, the writers end up throwing something else in to throw us off the scent. I know they did that with the Saviors and Negan at one point, so I feel like essentially they might do that, but part of me believes that it might have to do with the Whispers. Now, Cindy cut her hand cutting potatoes, and a lot of people probably watched that scene and said, well, what was the purpose of having Cindy go in to talk to Enid when we really haven't seen Cindy say much this season? I know, I'm wondering about that, and hopefully her character doesn't get killed off, because whenever that happens to a character where like you start seeing them a little bit more and they start talking a little bit more and the writers seem to run out of things for them to do, that character ends up dying. So I hope Sydney doesn't. Rick says that he wants the doctor, Sadiq, to head back to Alexandria because there's some sort of bug going around. Apparently, Alexandria, the kingdom, and the sanctuary are all running out of food. Particularly this little convocation happening near the bridge, they are really running out of food. So Michonne was sent on horseback to Hilltop to remedy that situation by talking to Maggie. Well, Michonne talks to Maggie, and Maggie talks about how a delivery of ethanol from the sanctuary is missing. Michonne believes something crazy happened, and that's why it's missing. Maggie does not believe that. I'm with Michonne. Something crazy probably happened, but then again, I could also see Maggie's side of the Saviors doing something shady, considering how shady Justin has been. It could go either way as far as the storyline, but something is up. Now, Michonne asks about Earl. Earl meaning Tammy's husband, the one who tried to kill Maggie. And Michonne asked Maggie about making some rules that all of the settlements have to abide by. And Michonne says, listen, maybe it's time that you release Earl, and Maggie is not with that at this point. She's going to decide what she's going to do when she decides it. And she says that until that supply of ethanol shows up, she's not giving out any more food, and I don't blame her for that. Maggie basically tells Michonne, listen, I know that you had a long ride from Alexandria, and you're welcome to stay here overnight. Now, that conversation between Daryl and Aaron was really cute. You know, the one where Aaron told Daryl that he would make a good father. That was very cute. Henry goes around to give everybody water. Well, Justin, aka Captain Vane for all you Black Sails fans, and King Ronan for you Hundreds fans, or the 100 fans. Justin wants some seconds, okay? And what happens with that is that, you know, he basically commandeers the bottle of water away from Henry. And poor Henry gets knocked off his feet by Justin, and then Henry knocks Justin off his feet. Well, Justin tries to go after Henry when that other savior, played by this actor named Reese Coiro, he used to be on a show years ago called Hostages that used to air on CBS. He makes fun of Justin, and Justin really tries to go after Henry, and then Daryl intervenes, and Daryl knocks the hell out of Justin. Justin throws dirt in Daryl's face, and the fight begins. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of Justin. I like the actor. I like the parts that he's played, but right now he's Justin, and I'm not feeling him. Rick manages to diffuse that fight between Daryl and Justin, because really Rick is the only one who can really diffuse these fights, because what Rick says goes. Besides Maggie, because Maggie has that power, but at this point, what Rick says goes. Daryl is mad that Rick will not reprimand Justin. I'm with Daryl, like, Rick, you got to do something about Justin. There's something up with this dude. Daryl warns Rick of what's to come. In other words, the Saviors are acting funny. They're not going to listen to us. Carol said the same thing, like, they have never had to work with anybody besides fellow Saviors, and they're used to the dichotomy of the sanctuary, meaning certain people are down, certain people are up. They don't know much about working together. Rick believes that they will see that they, meaning Hilltop, Oceanside, the kingdom and Alexandria and the sanctuary are all on the same side. And Daryl questions that, and I agree with Daryl. And Carol's like, some of these people are not ready for this. But again, Rick is feeling very optimistic. He feels like this is going to work. Me personally, I'm just looking at it like I'm ready for World War III to just completely open up and for all these folks to start fighting, because they're walking on a knife edge at this point. Tammy Rose is super upset because she cannot see her husband Earl, and she tries to talk to Jesus, and she tells Jesus, can you please talk to Maggie, because I really want to see him. He's all that I have. And Jesus was like, basically, give Maggie some time so that she'll figure this out. And, Tammy's just like, well, I'm going to sit here until I can see my husband. You go tell Maggie that. Now, Jesus is talking to Michonne, and Michonne is asking him, like, are you in agreement with Maggie as far as this whole putting Earl in this, I think it's like a cellar or something, the cellar jail? And Jesus is just like, he's not against a grieving mother seeing her husband. Honestly, I feel like he's scared at this point to say something to Maggie because of what Maggie had to do to Gregory. On top of the fact that ever since Glenn died, Maggie has been basically straight and to the point. So it's best to just go on with what she's doing rather than questioning it, and I'm okay with him with that. Now, the scene, the first one with Jadis and Father Gabriel, was interesting because Father Gabriel had Jadis draw a picture of the organist from his church, and Jadis has a beautiful talent, beautiful. Jadis reveals that she doesn't feel like she's a part of the group, meaning Alexandria and everybody else, and she and Father Gabriel bond over being outsiders. And she strokes his hand, and he doesn't really know how to react, so he kind of rubs her hand and kind of puts her hand back. And those paintings that she did that are hanging up in Maggie's office are beautiful. Apparently, Maggie received a letter and has received letters from Georgie, who I call Erin from Criminal Minds, because she has played a character named Erin. I think that's like more than once or something. Anyway, she sent Maggie a letter, and it seems like from the conversation that Maggie's having with Jesus that Maggie's considering going off to the Commonwealth. So I'm wondering, is that how the series is going to, push Maggie to the side for a bit? Because on a side note, for those of you who don't know, Lauren Cohan signed on for a TV show on, I believe it was ABC, and there's some other things going on, but I don't know how true those rumors are. Some people were saying something as far as, pay, meaning there's like a pay dispute going on, or there was one at some point, but I need to dig and try to get to the bottom of this so I can give you more information than just that. But I'm wondering, is this whole Commonwealth thing going to be the open door that Lauren Cohan and Maggie need to, step out for a bit? Okay, so Jesus manages to talk Maggie into allowing Tammy to see her husband, Earl. And that scene with Tammy and Earl was so sad, and we learned that Earl was 20 years sober because he was at one point an alcoholic. And that conversation, or that part of the conversation, reminded me a lot of what happened with Herschel, because remember, Herschel was an alcoholic at one point, and he was given a second chance. So Arat and Rosita are posted somewhere within, I guess you'd call that a valley or something, and they are setting up bombs and such. And Arat asked Rosita to trust her. She's like, maybe we should move backwards because we're kind of too close. And Rosita's like, not after you split open my face not too long ago. And honestly, I don't blame her for reacting that way. And then we get a close-up of a little herd moving, and I spied with my little eye a couple of whispers. For those who haven't read the comic books, you don't know what I'm talking about, but you will very soon. For those who have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maggie decided to give Earl a second chance after hearing about his alcohol issue, and she made him tell her about it. And then we see a scene where Tara's watching the herd from far away because they're in like these bucket things that remind me of those things they have on the public service trucks. Well, if you're not from like the metro area, you don't know what I'm talking about. Public Service is the company that gives basically most of New Jersey and I think parts of New York electricity, and they have these little bucket things where they go up and they check the different poles and such and wires, and it looked like that's what Tara was sitting in. And Tara tells Rick that Operation Horatio, meaning the bomb or the grenade or the whatever they blew up, went well. So Tara contacts Piper 1, who is obviously Jerry, and tells Jerry to do what he has to do, and Jerry sets up the alarm. When she contacts Piper 2, she can't get in contact with anyone. I'm wondering, well, who the heck is Piper 2? So while this was happening, Rick had his walkie-talkie so he could hear what Tara was saying. Alden comes up to Rick and he said, listen, I investigated what was happening with those 6 saviors who have disappeared, and honestly, they never made it back home to the sanctuary, and one of the guys or a couple of the guys had kids. And apparently Tara reveals that Piper 2 was missing, and the second siren is not going off, and because of that, that means that the herd is headed straight towards the lumber site. And that's exactly what happens. And the one savior, played by actor Reese Coiro, once the horses are a little iffy and Daryl realizes what's going on, he tells them it's time to go, they got to clear out. That one savior just bounces. The other savior could not hold up those logs. And Aaron, in protecting another person, got his arm trapped underneath a log, and his arm is basically crushed. Aaron tells Daryl to leave him and go, but Daryl refuses, and with the help of some other saviors and possibly a member or two from maybe Hilltop or somebody from the kingdom, he is able to free Aaron's arm, and Aaron's arm is mangled all up. Then we see Oceanside, Hilltop, Jadis, Alexandria, the kingdom, and some members of the sanctuary coming together to kick Walker butt and kick that's so funny, to kick ass and take names as far as the Walkers are concerned. And Rick shooting the rope that was holding up the logs was an awesome idea, and poor Enid had to amputate and cauterize Aaron's arm. That whole scene was rough. Kudos to Enid for attempting this, because this was her first time, and I saw that anatomy book, which made me even more nervous, but she did it. So we see Carol going off at somebody, and all of a sudden Daryl comes into that tent, and he goes off at Justin, because apparently Justin was Piper 2. Why am I not surprised, to be honest? Why am I not surprised? And Daryl starts beating the crap out of him, and if Carol hadn't stopped him, he probably would have killed Justin. I wouldn't have missed him, but he probably would have killed him. So as I said, Justin was Piper 2, and that's literally, that situation was the third time that Justin messed up and accidentally did not do something. There's something up with Justin. So Maggie tells Michonne that yes, they can talk about creating common laws, but Maggie says she's going to look after Hilltop before anybody else, and Michonne basically agrees. And she says, Maggie tells Michonne that she told Jesus to load up the food, and she allowed Earl his freedom, but he has to work under supervision, and he's gonna fix the plow that broke, and he's gonna do some more odd jobs until they can trust him again. Maggie mentioned her father Herschel and how he was given a second chance, and basically told Michonne what he did with it, and Michonne made a comment that basically said something like, because Herschel got a second chance, she was given a second chance. And Maggie said, but remember, some people can be redeemed with a second chance and others cannot. I believe she's talking about Mr. Negan with that part of the conversation. So Justin called Daryl a dog and the B word to Rick and told Rick that he needs to keep his dog or on a leash, and Rick kicked him out. He told him, if I see you again, stitches won't fix what I will do to you. So Justin said, no, I'm not leaving in the morning. I'm leaving right now. And I'm just like, peace out, Justin. Aaron is okay. Daryl's sitting by his side. There's something with Aaron and Daryl. Their friendship is amazing. On a side note, a lot of people on social media are talking about how Daryl and Carol are going to get together once, and this is everybody's speculation, that Ezekiel's character gets killed off or something to that effect. And I'm just like, I don't know what the writers are going to do. And I've read the comics, and sometimes I regret reading the comics because I tend to know what's going to happen before it happens, and I'm still not prepared for what happens in the way that the show presents it to viewers. But with that said, nothing is set in stone. So Rick apologizes to Aaron, and he said that he's been pushing everyone so hard, and Aaron pays the price. Aaron says it's not the end of the world, because originally he thought when the zombie apocalypse started that this was the end, that was it. But now he sees that everything they're doing right now is the start of a new world. So Gabriel and Jadis have a scene together where they're having a mini date. I guess you could call it a date. They're listening to frog mating calls and they're chatting. And that part was cute. And then all of a sudden, Jadis asks about the woman that she drew, and Father Gabriel tells her that that woman was the organist who he cared about from his church, but he never revealed his feelings to her, and then she got killed because of the walkers. Well, Jadis and Gabriel's conversation changes to sex, where Gabriel reveals that he's Episcopalian, i.e. he can have sex with a woman, and he does have sex with Jadis, but not before him saying, well, I have to be on watch, and Jadis is just like, well, watch this, and me, I'm just like, Father Gabriel and Jadis, everybody's got a love connection. Everybody's having a love connection this season. Well, everyone's gathered around the fire later on, and Rick is watching them, and Henry's playing a board game with Jerry and Nabila. Ezekiel and Carol are sitting together, and basically Carol's saying that she accepted his marriage proposal, but she didn't want him to do the whole bells and whistles and make a speech and stuff. She just let him put the ring on her finger. As I said in the beginning, Rick was talking to Negan. Negan told Rick that he's not saving the world. He's just getting it ready for him. Okay. Then we get back to the scene of Rick talking to Negan. I told you it was Negan. And in the end, Negan tells Rick, you know what, you're not in charge. He says that bridge you're building is a monument to the dead. And he says, Rick, you are not saving the world or something. You're just getting it ready for me. Then Jadis is in one of those bucket thingies, and she spies a helicopter flying at night. I can't wait till we find out who is flying that helicopter and from where. I'm wondering, does that helicopter come from the Commonwealth? It would make a lot of sense if it did. Then we get back to the scene of Rick talking to Negan. I told you it was Negan. And in the end, Negan tells Rick, you know what, you're not in charge. He says that bridge you're building is a monument to the dead, and he says, Rick, you are not saving the world or something. You're just getting it ready for me. Then Jadis is in one of those bucket thingies and she spies a helicopter flying at night. I can't wait till we find out who is flying that helicopter and from where. I'm wondering, does that helicopter come from the Commonwealth? It would make a lot of sense if it did. And then in the end, we see Justin staggering, drinking a little alcohol, and he comes upon somebody that he knows. How did I realize that it was someone he knows? Because of how he wasn't scared or surprised to see that person's face, so he knows that person. However, I think that whoever grabbed him was big because of how he was snatched. Maybe the person walking towards him was not, but somebody grabbed him and they were pretty big because of how fast they were snatched. But that's about it, guys. I can't wait to watch episode 3. You all take care. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you thought about Sunday's episode 2 of season 9 of The Walking Dead, and anything else you want to talk about that's Walking Dead related. Until next Monday, I'll see you guys. And as I said before, these review videos will pop up every Monday. So I'm going to stick to that. Love you guys. Take care. Bye, guys. Love you all. Bye.